Good evening. Welcome to Inside Texas Football. This is On the Horn. This is the latest I have ever started the show, 6:15. I am sorry, guys. I am now producing the show. I am terrible with technology. A boomer, as many have described me. Thankfully, I was a communications major, so we used iPads in school, and that path sufficed for me. But yeah, trying to get these files uploaded, it crashed my laptop here. But we're live. We're going at it. That's not going to stop us. Thanks for joining in, guys. Make sure to like the show, subscribe, share the show with people. We've got a loaded show for you tonight. We've got a lot of fun stuff to talk about just because it's the off season. Does not mean we take a break here at Inside Texas Football. And welcome into On the Horn. I'm your host, James Hayden, live from my little brother's room at my parents' house yet again. So to start, we're going to look ahead to 2025 and look at some mystery players, some guys you haven't heard of before, who we don't know yet, who haven't really established themselves, didn't really play much this year or at all in a lot of cases. Some played some meaningless snaps at times, some backup duty. We're going to take a look at the mystery players and who are some guys we should be looking forward to heading into 2025. First guy I want to talk about is a fan favorite if you are deep into Texas football and know or follow recruiting and go to InsideTexas.com. The man, Parker Livingstone. Some of you may know him. He's a 6'4" receiver. He's a big target. He's from, Lovejoy in Texas, who stole formerly Westlake great head coach Todd Dodge, three-time state champion Todd Dodge. They stole him from us. Actually, he retired, but then he went to Lovejoy. And now Parker Livingstone is a kid from Lovejoy. But this is a funny little tidbit from one of the guys on the Inside Texas message board, which if you don't already subscribe to it, go to InsideTexas.com. In the top right corner, you see there. Subscribe, join the message boards. A lot of fun comments on there like this one. But yeah, this guy said favorite thing about Parker Livingstone is the fact that, and he says he hasn't really seen him play, which true, none of us have. But it's the fact that his picture looks like it could have been taken anywhere from 1976 to 1988. He does kind of have a McConaughey, like Glenn Powell vibe, Dazed and Confused, or Everybody Wants Some, if you've ever seen that movie. Fast Times at Ridgemont High. You know, he's got that sort of pencil-thin high school mustache with a flowy mullet. I love the way the kid looks, but also I love the way he looks on the field. He's really athletic. He's fast. He's long. We're not really going to do these in any particular order. I'm just saying mystery players in general for Texas heading into 2025. And I think Livingstone is definitely a mystery player because we know receivers, a little unproven aside from DeAndre Moore and I almost said Xavier Worthy. We're going to be talking about him later. But aside from DeAndre Moore and Ryan Wingo, a lot of unproven guys at receiver, right? So Parker Livingstone could very well play on the outside. He, would be a dangerous weapon for Texas, would be a great guy, if he could get the ball rolling and find some rhythm and end up playing up to what we expect him to be. He's really athletic, really long, really fast. He's a big target. He was recruited pretty heavily. I mean, he picked UT over Georgia and LSU. And like I said, he went to Dallas Lovejoy, so that's 5A football. They aren't chumps. They aren't Westlake, but they're all right down at 5A level up in the DFW area. And so he was really impressive at the 2024 spring game. Rumored, very allegedly 4.3 speed. This is what people have said on the internet. Maybe 4.4, but he's a 6'4" guy, 220. Like the guy is lanky. He can get up. Go watch some of his high school highlights. I mean, he was faster than everyone on the field. And like I mentioned, 5A football, it's not a joke, especially in the state of Texas. If you're not from the state of Texas, your high school football might as well all be played at the JV level in comparison. But Parker or Livingstone could be a very, very valuable player on the outside. If he gets going, like I said, if he gets in the rotation, I mean, athletic guy, good route runner, everything on tape screams like a really good deep threat. He did track as well. So that is someone you should look out for. And not just because of his sick mullet and mustache. I kind of makes me want to bring back my mustache and my mullet. Unfortunately, I get sort of an eyebrow thing going where I've got nothing here and then it's just all right there. But hey, maybe just for the aesthetic, I might bring back the mullet to prepare for summer season. And Parker Livingstone looks the part. I think he could end up being a very effective receiver. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, and feel free to call in. We'll start taking calls if you guys have anybody you're looking forward to for next year. There are obviously several. There's no shortage of talent on Texas's roster, and with a lot of seniors and a senior laden, I think that's how you say that, with a senior laden class leaving in 2025 or 2024 season, right? You're going to have a lot of open room in various skill position, defensive line, wherever, tight end, obviously, running back room, even losing Jaden Blue. So, I mean, there's a lot of production to be had. And with the talent, a lot of these guys have been waiting their turn 2 years, some just a year or two. But I think there's a lot of potential for, guys you have not heard of yet, unless you've been following Inside Texas. All these guys. You follow recruiting like that, all these guys. But the next guy I want to talk about is Jordan Washington. So he's big. Everybody talks about him. I mean, I saw a highlight video of his. We had a post on Instagram, a really good highlight video or hype video of Jordan Washington. He's a receiving tight end, 6'4", 250. He's really bulked up since coming to Texas. He's very fast. He's made a lot of contested catches. Another great high school tape to watch. Also, spring game was good to watch. But this is tight end, right? So you're gonna be looking for someone to step up in that room. There's no Juan Davis. There's no Gunnar Helm. So it's a lot of unknown. Amari Nyblack transferred out. And I think Jordan Washington is someone we really could see step up, right, into that sort of receiving tight end role. I don't want to throw JT Sanders comparisons out there yet, right? But he's a serious receiving threat. And with him and Spencer Shannon, if you don't know, Spencer Shannon's 6'7", like 250. I think him and he's more of a blocking threat, Spencer Shannon is. But if you look at Spencer Shannon's tape, he's more of a blocking tight end. Jordan Washington, more of a receiving tight end. It could be something where it's similar to like Helm and JT in 2023. Maybe not to that level. We don't want to project those sort of expectations onto these young kids. But it is Texas after all. But these guys are 4-star recruits. I mean, I think that is a very interesting room to watch to see what happens with the tight ends this year. Will it be Jordan Washington? Will it be Spencer Shannon? I mean, that's something we're going to be watching closely. But we like Jordan Washington. I mean, but a lot of Spencer Shannon hype as well. It's one of those 1A, 1B probably at tight end this year now that Nyblack's gone. And there's no real competition. So it's kind of just opened up the doors for one of these guys to step up. We don't expect Gunnar Helm level production in their first year starting, but that'll be an interesting battle to watch. And I think Jordan Washington, like I said, huge upside, receiving tight end. He's big, 6'4", 250, right? He can get jump balls. Go watch his tape. He was a basketball player. So this guy's freak athlete. I mean, these tight ends Texas has been bringing in recent years. It's been really fun to watch, just the elevation and talent at the tight end room. Up next, I want to talk about fellow Westlake Shap. His dad is a coach at Westlake. I don't know if he still is. I don't follow a ton of Westlake football after graduating high school 5 years ago. But Colton Vosick, his dad's a geography teacher at Westlake. Nice guy and football coach, as I mentioned. Vosick, hometown kid, absolute specimen. He had a couple sacks this year in like 5 games of real action. He's 6'5", 260. He came in at about 230, so gaining 30 pounds of weight on a guy who already had a very, bulky frame, like a lanky athletic type of build, like I don't want to throw this out there, but he, in a serious context, but in a physical sense, he looks a lot like Max Crosby, double X Max at Las Vegas with the Raiders. He looks very similar to him physically. I mean, Colton Vosick, that's a mystery player for a lot of people because we didn't see a ton of him. He hurt his shoulder too. And just the edges this year were insane. The defensive line was insane. He didn't get a ton of run, but he will be in the 2 deep, right? I think you could see him getting 5 sacks. Kind of what Ethan Burke has been doing these past year or two. Like Burke's like not quite the starting guy, but he gets a lot of run. I mean, there's no reason to say Vosick won't be in the 2 deep. He's been preparing for this. He'll be a junior now. He's been, preparing, learning, being behind guys like Baron Sorrell that teaches these guys a ton, and just seeing how the defensive line play is at Texas now and what the standard is. I mean, I think, Vosick being a 4-star and now being 2 years in the system, expect him to step up next year. He'll be in that mix with, Trey Moore, Simmons, Burke, and then it'll be Vosick right on the edge. So expect Vosick to wreak some havoc in a few games. I wouldn't be surprised if you see him have a breakout game or two. And then next, guys, basically a 5-star. He got some run this year. Kobe Black, our fourth mystery player heading into 2025. He was a 4-star, borderline 5-star. People say he should have been a 5-star. He should start. So the mystery will be revealed pretty quick there. You'll see what our corner play is. It was elite this year in the secondary. We know we have got Taft back on the back end, but, it's relatively new guys. Derek Williams will be back. We'll see how the corners are. It'll be Manny Muhammad and Kobe Black. Excuse me. But Kobe Black should start. He played well when he got in. I remember against Vanderbilt, he started because of injury. Sorry, guys. The Cedar in Austin's getting to me. But, he played great. He was the highest graded defensive player, I believe, in that game because I made a graphic for that game against Vanderbilt. So we know Kobe Black is talented. He's got great length. He's got receiver-like, body control. He played both ways in high school, which is always a good sign. He's got great ball skills, and he's a freaking athlete, guys. I mean, he's quick. He is quick, great in zone, but can also do well in man. He played track and basketball. You always love when your corners do track. And I like when any football players play basketball, and that's not just because I'm a basketball guy, but just because it gives them, twitch. You have to be twitchy. You got to be smooth, good rhythm. Like, usually you're quick and have good footwork if you're playing basketball because a lot of that, similar movements, and you have good ball skills. Typically, if you're a basketball kid, you can jump, just good reaction times. I think that'll help him. But Kobe Black, I expect to really come onto the scene. He might end up being, the best corner in 2025. Do not be surprised. I think he might end up being the best corner. It'll be him and Manny Muhammad's show. We'll see what happens. But up next, guys, I want to talk about Brandon Baker, our 5th mystery player. We're almost done here, but Brandon Baker's a Mater Dei kid. Him and Spencer Shannon actually played together at Mater Dei. I mean, I know I tout high school football in Texas, but I'll give him some credit. Mater Dei, St. John Bosco, some of those schools in California, they kind of know how to play football, but I still take Westlake any day over those guys. They're prep schools, all right? They get to technically recruit. Our recruiting's off the books. But yeah, I mean, they've got some good football out there, obviously. Imagine playing against Brandon Baker and Spencer Shannon. I mean, 2 4-star giants. So, I mean, I think Brandon Baker will start at right tackle. He didn't get much run. Trevor Goosby's proven himself. He'll probably be the left tackle because he's had more experience and, is more proven, probably a little bit more skilled, more seasoned, obviously older. So Baker played right tackle in high school. He's got long arms. He's better at pass blocking than run blocking. So we've heard. It seems to be the story of Texas O-lines. But, hey, they were a Moore Award finalist group this year. So if they run it back again, we're all for that. But, yeah, Brandon Baker also, people forget, was the 3rd highest ranked recruit in the 2024 class. Kind of flying under the radar. You don't talk a ton about O-linemen. Most casuals do not like talking about O-linemen, but you got to talk about the O-linemen as a group. And I think as a group, Brandon Baker will, step up and fill the shoes of Cam Williams. And I think he'll be able to get to his level, maybe not next year, but while he's in the, on the 40 acres, he'll probably eventually get to that point. He's got a great work ethic. He's a smart blocker. Like, I mean, no reason that Brandon Baker won't fill the shoes of, someone like Cam Williams and be able to step up into that role and be a great starting tackle. And I think with Trevor Goosby, you're going to have some good pass blocking on the outside, which we look forward to. And then lastly, guys, last mystery player of 2025. And feel free to comment who you're most excited about, who you're looking forward to, who should be on this list. Who am I missing? And what you think about some of these guys, Parker Livingstone, Colton Vosick, Kobe Black, whoever. What you want to talk about. But last guy, Alex January, he's a defensive tackle, 6'5", 320. His dad played at UT. He's kind of a program guy, it feels like. Dad played at UT. He's from Texas. He was part of that Duncanville dominant team. He knows how to win. He won Duncanville's first state title since the 80s. So he's great, good size, kind of underrated. Was only a 3-star recruit, but we've been high on him. We've talked about Alex January, and if you follow Inside Texas, you know we like Alex January. Yeah, I mean, aside from like Travis Shaw transferring in from UNC and Cole Brevard coming from Purdue, he'll be in the 2 deep, right? Like we've at the very least expect him to be in the 2 deep, and there will be a lot of rotation. You saw guys like Bill Norton, he's in the 2 deep, and he made huge impact plays against Clemson, against A&M, right? So, I mean, expect Alex January to make some impactful plays, whether he starts or not. I don't know where we're going to go with that group. Ultimately, I checked my watch. It's February 11th. So football happens in about 7 months. So Alex January, maybe he'll start if he impresses in spring ball or spring camp now. Who knows? I mean, we might not even have a spring game. And if he impresses in training camp and OTAs, now that it's becoming the mini NFL. But yeah, I mean, Justice Terry will probably be in that 2 deep. It'll probably be Terry, Shaw, Cole Brevard, and then Alex January. So he'll get some meaningful snaps. He's pretty underrated, but he's a part of the assembly line of defensive tackles now that Kenny Baker's been building there. And look to Alex January to step up, being behind guys like, Vernon Broughton and, Alfred Collins. He's learned a lot. He's been a part of the program for the past, for this past year. He saw what it's like to be a dominant defensive line. And I think he's just been waiting on the wing, just waiting for his opportunity. He got in some snaps, played in about 6 games, 7 games, maybe even. He recorded tackles in a few games. So he had a solid season for a true freshman that was a 3-star recruit. Yeah, but guys, I mean, feel free to call in or let us know what you're most excited about for, Texas and their recruits that are now finally going to get some playing time. Guys that we didn't really see get much action in 2024 that we expect to play in 2025. But it's very clear that Texas will be remodeling, to say the least, from last year's team. And I look forward to the final results, but they are doing a remodel. And if you need to do a remodel, call Luxe Kitchen and Bath. You know the drill.
This video is brought to you by Luxe Kitchen and Bath. Luxe has been offering high-end kitchen and bathroom remodels for 3 generations throughout the greater Austin area. With 5-star review after 5-star review on Google and Facebook, and an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau, you can put your faith in Luxe Kitchen and Bath's award-winning designers and skilled craftspeople to bring to life that dream vision of your special home. But that's not all. Luxe's all-star team provides full remodels, large additions, and even commercial build-outs as well. So call Luxe Kitchen and Bath at 833-358-LUXE today. Or visit luxekitchenbath.com to discover where quality meets luxury and begin the process of transforming your home. Get a free quote today by calling 833-358-LUXE. That's L-U-X-E. Or by visiting luxekitchenbath.com. Link in the description.
Yeah, shout out Luxe, guys. That is my only sponsor of this show. So again, like I said last week, punch a hole in a kitchen cabinet, break a drawer in your mother's house, maybe your wife's house, and just tell them, honey, we need to change something up. I don't like brown. Switch neutral colors. Let's go bright. I don't care. Remodel your kitchen and call our boys at Luxe. If you live in an apartment, destroy your kitchen, rage, and then tell the landlord to use Luxe Kitchen and Bath remodeling to fix it, and say you'll only pay for it if they do so. Shout out to Luxe, my only sponsor. I'll remember them till the end. They are day ones for sure. We're going to go ahead and move on to the NFL. Mock drafts have been, going hot. It's mock draft season, of course, and Texas is in the thick of it all. Texas is expected to have another loaded draft class, and NFL Network released a great mock draft that had 3 Longhorns being picked in the first round. So to start, of course, no surprise here, but it's Jahdae Barron, expected to be picked in the top 10 in this mock draft from NFL Network. Well, friends of the program, NFL Network. Is that true? No, but I'll just call them friends of the program. You have to manifest it. Rich Eisen will have me on his show one day, guys. But we'll call them friends of the program because they're being favorable in their reporting of Texas players getting drafted in the first round. So they expect 3 Texas players to get drafted in the first round. First is Jahdae Barron, of course. No surprise there. Thorpe Award winner, the best defensive back in college football this year, according to many people. And Jahdae, it's kind of the story we know about him. Is a smart player. He can kind of do it all. He's great at reading quarterbacks. He's great at beating receivers to the point. And people think that, he's obviously quicker than fast. He's not the fastest guy in the world. He's a smart player, good in zone coverage, but people expect him to be a great corner. Like he's good at watching the quarterback's eyes. He's kind of like Michael Taft if he were a corner. Slightly different, obviously, but people think he can kind of do it all. Their assessment of him was that he's able to play a dime linebacker position. We know that, like, he's a Swiss Army knife of the secondary for Texas. Great eyes, knows what he's doing. He plays at his best when he can play off and see through receivers to the quarterback. He reads the quarterback's drop, anticipates the ball where it's going. He doesn't waste steps. Like I said, he's smart. He's got great footwork. We know that about Jaude. There's a reason he won the Thorpe Award when he is probably not the fastest corner. He's not the fastest corner in college football, but he was the best for reasons because of his mind, his footwork, how hard he works, how he reads offenses. He knows what the quarterback's going to do before the quarterback does it. They compared him to Brian Branch coming out of Alabama in the NFL. So, not a bad comp. And so up next, of course, no shock, is Kelvin Banks Jr. They're expecting to get picked in the top 20. He's a sturdy left tackle, bulky guy, great in pass protection, as we know. Not the best run blocker in the world, but they're saying he's got great at keeping his hands inside. He has some things he needs to clean up, but he has all the physical attributes. We knew this kid was a 5-star coming in 2022. That was huge when he came in. Just things they think he'll be coached out of, like footwork and stuff, and not in the run game. He has good initial knockback power, they say, but he does not always drive or finish. He's nimble to adjust. He picks off defenders at the second level and on the perimeter. Some teams see him as more of a guard, but, NFL Network has him still as a tackle. They like his core foundation of strength and agility. Up next, Matthew Golden, arguably the best. I don't need to read their analysis for this one. I love Matthew Golden. He's got great hands. He's a great route runner. Might be one of the biggest steals of this draft. And people are now projecting him in the first round, which how amazing is that coming in like as a transfer. Most people were talking about Isaiah Bond, obviously, and then Matthew Golden took the reins. And now they're expecting Matthew Golden to be picked in the first round. And a lot of mocks are moving him up into the first round. But he is so quick. He's got great instincts. He's tough. We've seen his hands. I mean, how many one-handed catches does he make? He's got sticky hands. Great operating out of the slot. He's good against press coverage because of his quickness. He's actually kind of stout and pretty strong for a slot receiver. Excuse me, I had to burp real quick. But he's great at catching. Doesn't ever really drop anything over the middle. Crossing routes are really where he dominates. He's got good ball skills, good mobility, good balance. I mean, this guy, he could catch a ball on a highway and still maintain it and take it to the ground. Matthew Golden does not drop anything. He runs great routes. He's precise. He's tight. He's quick and also fast. Matthew Golden is going to be, without a doubt, a force to be reckoned with in the NFL. I mean, I think whoever gets him is going to be an absolute steal. You could see him put up crazy numbers in the slot in the NFL. So Matthew Golden, great to see him getting his due. But, just in general, talking about how loaded Texas is, Texas, when Sark came, if you don't remember, had 0 players drafted, right? 0 players in 2022. That seems like another world, just a lifetime ago. But now they had 5 in 2023 on that 8-win season. And then they had 11 last year. And now, I just counted it up and looked at some 7-round mock drafts. They're expecting 12 players to get drafted. And I mean, I think that's just such a testament to Sark's culture and how much things have changed. Like I said, like NFL Network's got Jaude at 9, Banks at 19, and Golden at 24. It's 3 guys in the first round. I mean, that's nothing to scuff at. I don't know. Scoff at. I'm not much for the vocabulary words. And like just the fact that Texas is now back in that world where 3 first-round picks is the expectation and a reality. We saw last year a couple guys getting picked in the first round. So, I mean, there's a lot of excitement around the development and just how much things have changed in terms of turning those 5 stars into NFL prospects. So it's just huge to see like the development and scouting. That's a testament when you get players drafted. We used to see how many players would come in, like Caden Stearns, for example. They'd have a good season. There'd be all this draft hype. You'd be a high recruit. You'd have all this draft hype coming in Texas under previous coaching staffs. And then they would turn into nothing. They wouldn't get picked. We remember draft days, I think, under Charlie Strong, where they also had 0 picks. The fact that Sark came in, there were 0 players drafted in 2022. Then that moved up to 5, now 11, probably 12 this year. And that's just like how the wheels are now turning. Sark is getting the recruits and then developing them and then having them get better. Jahdae Barron's the biggest testament to that. Was there any world where Jahdae Barron was going to be the best corner in college football? Probably not coming out of high school. Probably not after his first couple of years. You get Sark in there, and now look at how they developed him. Look at how, some of these guys have worked the program, and Vernon Broughton has played his way into getting drafted. Alfred Collins, Gunnar Helm is now going to be, a 4th round draft pick, 3rd round draft pick, maybe. Jake Majors is maybe projected to get picked in the 4th, 5th round. Baron Sorrell is probably going to get picked. Makuba is going to get picked. So it's just shown you how much things have changed the way Sark now develops guys. And you look at Georgia, for example, if I go back to the past couple champions, right? Michigan had 13 players drafted. Georgia had like 15 players drafted. You have to get at least 10. Georgia's getting 10 every year. Bama was getting 10 every year with Saban. That is the floor if you want to be a national title contender. And by the way, guys, start calling in, comment in what you think about, the draft class, the mock drafts, and who you're, looking forward to playing in the NFL, what you're excited about with Texas players getting picked, where you think they'll get picked, how many, or just any general Sarkisian cultural things, talking about NFL and Texas. But yeah, I mean, just the point is that Sark has changed the conversation in Austin about the NFL and development. It went from 0 draft picks to now 10 plus is what we're expecting year in and year out. And I don't think that'll change next year or the year after that, right? With, we know how loaded those classes are going to be. But yeah, I mean, Georgia, Michigan, these teams were getting 10 plus draft picks just to be in that conversation. That's the bare minimum. At least you got to have 10 draft picks and you will eventually win a title. You have to have that to be in that conversation, in my opinion. And we've seen that when like Washington made a run, or even TCU, they had 9 draft picks, right? So you've got to have 10 plus draft picks at least if you want to be a national title team in the modern college football era. That success from college translates to the NFL, and we see that with these draft picks. You see Bama littering the board, Michigan now, Ohio State, Texas, right? Georgia. These are the teams littering the 1st and 2nd round. Texas will probably have 5-6 guys picked in the first 2 rounds. So that's just, great change in Texas, a cultural shift that Texas is now developing talent and seeing them succeed on Sundays, like with Xavier Worthy. That's one of Sark's guys succeeding. So the fact that Sark has changed that in just one draft class, 2021 class, a lot of them are graduating now. And that was Sark's first year. And 2021, in one draft class, he has changed it from 0 picks to now, 11, 12. So really good. Go ahead and call in, guys, if you want to talk about the NFL. We're going to bring on a regular here to talk about the Texas players projected in the NFL draft. Johnny, you're on the horn. Can you hear me? Oh, hold on. Johnny, can you hear me? You're on the horn.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. What's going on, James?
Not much, man. How you doing? What do you think about the draft picks and all that and the projection?
Yeah, man. I think
and whatnot?
You talked about it a little bit earlier, but I mean, some of those guys, like you were talking about, like main guys, Jahdae, he was not really projected to go that high last year. Maybe a fringe day 3 guy, and all of a sudden, he comes back and now he's a day 1 pick, right? But I think conversely, on the other side of that, I kind of want to get your thoughts too on a guy like Quinn. Like he came in as the number 1 overall recruit in the country. Everybody's expecting to go top 10. Now it's a little bit ambiguous, right? Like, I don't know where he goes. So kind of want to get your thoughts on that too.
Yeah. And the mocks I was looking at, it looks like Cam Williams kind of played his way down to 2nd round pick. If you remember, there was a lot of hype on him being drafted in the 1st round. Quinn, obviously a lot of hype in the 1st round. Like he came in, though, obviously the perfect 1,000 recruit from like On3 and 247. Quinn was a bona fide 5-star projected 1st round pick. I don't think necessarily that has, anything to do with Sark or the Texas culture, but more so Quinn just getting injured. If Quinn doesn't get hurt, that guy that you saw play in Ann Arbor or in Bryant-Denny Stadium last year, I think particularly in Ann Arbor, just night and day between him then and him after the UTSA oblique injury and then after the ankle injury. Because if you remember how he was manipulating the pocket, moving around in comparison to how he looked against Georgia, for example, kind of scared, felt like he was taking dives. That's why Quinn got, I think injuries and just, performance on the back half of the season. He had good statistical games, but just he did not look the same level of confidence or like he had the same command of the game or the line of scrimmage. In my opinion, I don't think it's anything to do with Sark or development because, Quinn is probably going to be a second round pick now. It's more so just circumstance, in my opinion.
I agree. I think the thing with Quinn is that his top end is way too high to pass up on as far as potential goes. I mean, like you said, against Michigan, he looked like a literal god. I mean, like you saw his Heisman odds jump too, like right after that game. And everybody's like, oh man, like, this Texas team, they're going to be unstoppable this year. Like nobody is stopping that offense. And they look like a machine, buzzsaw, all that stuff. So, I mean, I don't know. I think Quinn's potential is just way too high to pass up. I mean, ultimately that's what you're drafting on, right? Is potential. So, I mean, these are prospects. So I think with Quinn, he's going to go no later than second round. I mean, I saw some dude on Twitter saying like, oh, he's going no higher than the fourth. And I thought that was a crazy take.
Yeah. I mean, especially in a weak quarterback class, I think that's part of the reason it'll be so good for Quinn to still go is because the class you look around, it's like, who's really the best NFL prospect? Cam Ward, maybe Shadur. People are thinking Carson Beck stayed.
Yeah, I mean, find 3 guy.
Yeah, I mean, Quinn was still a top 5 quarterback in college football, even with all things considered, all those injuries and him not playing. He didn't play his cleanest football down the stretch, but he still performed. I mean, people forget like that throw against Arizona State. He aired it out against Clemson. Like he had some good games still. He played a solid game against Ohio State, aside from like a couple passes. He really didn't play that bad. His interception was in garbage time after the strip sack already happened. The strip sack was not his fault. So, I mean, Quinn is still a solid and promising prospect. He has a cannon. We've seen all the videos of him, throwing it 70, 80 yards on high school fields. And he's got good accuracy. And I think people are going to take a bet on him, probably try and bulk him up and have him sit for a couple of years. I would like him to go to the Rams. I think that would be perfect for him.
I think so too. I mean, to sit behind Matthew Stafford and learn from him, for maybe 2 years, and then all of a sudden he gets a start. I mean, I think people forget too. Like you were saying, Quinn led like 2 or 3 game-winning drives against Arizona State. Just Bert Auburn missed the kick, but
yeah,
he went out there and he won the game. He won the game for Texas. I mean that, and then he kept them alive against in 4th and 13. So that potential you can't pass up. I mean, and to talk about the potential of guys who came back. I mean. Well, I guess Gunnar Helm didn't really have a choice. He wasn't going to get picked last year, but before the season, nobody really thought about Gunnar Helm, right? And now he's like the 2nd or 3rd best tight end in the country. He's probably going to go in the 2nd or 3rd round. So it's pretty crazy the amount of development that we've had over here since like you said, nobody got drafted in that first year that Sark was a head coach.
Yeah, and I mean Gunnar Helm to that point, He said on Inside Texas, he was on an interview with Joe Cook, and he said when he came in, Sark came to him and they were like, because he was one of the classes, a lot of that 2021 class.
Transition class, yeah.
They had committed to Tom Herman. So they told him, like, you stay here. We were going to run an NFL system. You learn how to play as a tight end in this system, you will get drafted. And Gunnar Helm's the best example of that 3-star recruit from Colorado. And like you said, he would not have gotten picked. I don't think people would have even, if he had went pro last year, people would have scoffed at him. Now, he's going to be a solid mid-round pick, and he played his way, into the draft, and a lot of that has to do with development, playbook, and having NFL guys and facilities around, and just the investment and how they're trained and taught. It just prepares these guys for the next level, similar to those machines like Georgia and Alabama would do for years prior.
It's crazy to think about, man. I mean, you're going to see probably double digits in draft picks 2 years in a row. I mean, that's something that we haven't seen in a long time.
Yeah, I don't think Mac ever went double digits back-to-back years. So
I don't think so either. I think you might be right.
Anything else, Johnny?
That's it, brother. Well, one last thing, hey, my Instagram handle is under 60 flicks. You guys have probably seen some of my work, so please feel free to give me a follow, and the best is yet to come. So
Yes,
Looking
sir,
forward.
guys. Follow Johnny. He makes those great Michael Taft video. We posted that went viral on Instagram and Twitter. And the Arch Manning edits, he's along with many others. He makes like the best football edits I've seen, also some baseball edits, but predominantly UT stuff. So definitely follow Under 60 Flicks on Instagram, guys.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'll catch you soon.
All right, appreciate you, Johnny.
Peace.
All right, we're gonna bring on one more caller to talk about the draft. Jackson, you back on the horn?
How you doing, James?
What do you think about the mock drafts and talent development and all that stuff?
Yeah, I think you brought up a lot of good points, especially with Quinn. I do think that a team is going to look at him as more of a project, even if they take him early. Kind of give him 2 years to develop a little bit. And, at the end of the day, we really haven't seen a 5+ game stretch of a fully healthy Quinn Ewers in college.
Yeah.
And, I think he really has a lot of upside. And, teams have done this before, obviously the Packers with Rodgers and Jordan Love, Jalen Hurts, you saw the Eagles, saw what he became. So I think as that strategy has proven to be successful, we'll see a lot of that, especially like you said. I really don't think any of the quarterbacks in this draft are going to be super successful. Definitely a down year. Like this is an O-line and defensive draft at the end of the day. Jahdae Barron, I expect him to be really good. And Andrew Makuba, I think he's going to be almost just as good as Jahdae Barron in the NFL. I love Makuba. He's one of my favorite players in the team last year. He just the way he can hit, he hits like an NFL player. He hits hard, and just the effort level and the way that he was able to just transfer in and fit right into the system and become, especially in the playoffs, one of their most important players.
Yeah, Makuba is a guy I didn't even talk about, but I think he could slide in to a second round, third round pick and be an absolute steal. Because like you said, he's great in coverage, great athlete. He's very similar to Taft in terms of his mind and how good he is in zone coverage and knowing where to be at all times. Like he was a total veteran presence coming from Clemson over to Texas and seamless transition. Makuba will be a steal of the draft, and he did lay the boom a few times on people across the middle. Like, Makuba is a guy you got to look out for. But this class, I think a lot of these guys will go on to have long careers, in my opinion.
No, yeah, 100%. Matthew Golden, I do like you saw with AD Mitchell this year, kind of a slow start to his NFL career, but he didn't really have a quarterback for most of the year. I think Golden is going to be one of those guys that's going to take a couple more years to develop, but still for sure can be like with the speed and the route running, like you said. There's no question that he can make an impact on an NFL team.
So I'm curious, why do you not think Golden will be an immediate guy?
I just think, he spent most of his career at Houston, 1 year at Texas, and obviously he played tough competition at Texas, but especially in the early games, and the way that Texas runs their offense, I just don't think I think it's going to be a bigger jump than other receivers, especially for a guy like him. And, he's a little less physical in general. And yeah, I mean, I just think that's the case with a lot of guys, and especially with him, he's kind of a late riser in the draft. He wasn't really looked at as, obviously no one's like Marvin Harrison Jr., but he wasn't the prototype, right? He wasn't a prospect, high ranking prospect before the year started, but he had such a successful playoff run with Texas that he's rising. And that's really the only reason why.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like he could have an immediate impact. Part of the reason AD Mitchell didn't have a great year is when you have Anthony Richardson throwing you the ball. Yeah. It's pretty tough. Even in college, he was not that accurate. Yeah, I actually was looking at that yesterday because I was talking about Xavier Worthy's success. And AD Mitchell only caught 50% of his targets this year. And then I realized, I was like, oh, that's because Anthony Richardson completed.
I still think he's going to be really good.
Passes. Yeah, AD Mitchell should still end up being good. I like Matthew Golden to be one of the better receivers from this class in the long run. I mean, he is smaller, but not the prototypical receiver. But I do think in the long run, he's such a good route runner. It depends where he gets picked. Obviously,
that's what it really all is. Like if Golden falls to the Ravens towards the end of the draft, then I do think he can make an immediate impact. That's a team that loves Texas players. And I think especially in the Ravens, they don't really have a true wide receiver one. They like to mix in a lot of guys. I mean, you saw a guy like Devin Duvernay make a huge impact there for like 3 years, and I think he was like a 5th round pick. So the Ravens really like to use their guys in a lot of different ways. And there's a lot of positions open there to battle. So I think if he gets drafted somewhere like that, or like the Chiefs also have a late round pick. That would be kind of cool to have him and Worthy both be there. That would be pretty cool. But if he goes to a team that doesn't have a quarterback, kind of like AD, then I do think it's gonna take some more time.
Yeah, it definitely depends on the situation. I think Isaiah Bond could be someone who didn't really have great production in college, but he could end up being an absolute stud in the NFL.
Yeah, I agree, because everyone saw the potential at Alabama, and just he suffered a lot of injuries this year, and then I really, you might know about this more than I do. It's kind of inexplicable why it was so hard to work him back into the offense, at least for my eyes. I don't know why it just never clicked when he got healthy. That was always a question that I had.
Yeah, I think genuinely just the injury threw off the rhythm. And then by that point in the year, Quinn was so dialed in on Golden. You saw down the stretch, whenever he needed yards, chunk yards in the clutch, whatever down the stretch,
100%.
he's looking Golden. And Golden always was there and reliable. And I think Bond, like so much a quarterback receiver, is just that relationship and connection and rhythm. Like you have to be consistently doing it, right? And when Bond was gone for a little while, it just seemed like he came back and was not the same player. I don't even think he scored a touchdown since the Florida game. He did. Yeah, he was just kind of, unfortunately, had limited impact down the stretch. A lot of that injury, and then probably just the way the chips fell because he was out, and then Quinn started looking to other guys.
Yeah, pretty unfortunate. And then the other point you had about Banks, I didn't hear it until today actually, but I read a whole article about a lot of NFL teams potentially moving him to guard, like you said.
Yeah.
And, I just think that's them kind of analyzing his flaws that they see in him in college and think he's a guard. Like if a guy's 28 and he has the flaws that Banks has, then yeah, you move him to guard. But like you said, a lot of coachable things that they can fix. So I think if the right teams draft him, he'll be great at tackle.
Yeah, Banks has all the intangibles, all the physical qualities, and the guy's 21. So
yeah.
Stuff he's bad at now in terms of like driving in the run game and stuff like that, he probably will get better at with time.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, well, thanks for coming on again, Jackson. Appreciate it.
Yep. Wildcats are looking good right now. Got the game on in the background.
Oh, yes, sir. I'm missing the Kentucky basketball game for this. So make sure to subscribe, guys, because that's how dedicated I am to the game. I am a Kentucky fan, for those who don't know. Both my parents went to Kentucky, but hey, we're talking about Texas football in the offseason instead of watching Kentucky play the fake UT right now in a ranked matchup. Texas basketball also has a ranked. Oh, well, they're not ranked.
Big game tonight.
They got number 2 coming to town, so that'll be huge if any of y'all do care about basketball. Thanks for calling in, Jackson. Appreciate it again.
No problem.
Yeah, guys, I'm missing the Kentucky basketball game. You see this right here? Signed by John Wall. Growing up a Kentucky fan, that is like you getting a football signed by Colt McCoy as a 2000s kid. I watch Kentucky basketball like a lot of you probably watch Kentucky football. I just happen to be from Texas, as my dad says. We are Kentucky bred, but Texas born. Still like the Longhorns, of course. You see that right there. Wouldn't be doing this otherwise if I didn't. Hey, and next, let's talk about wide receivers. We're getting into it. Xavier Worthy went absolutely off in the Super Bowl. We put this graphic up there. Everybody loved it. He had 8 for 157, 2 touchdowns. This was huge, in my opinion, for a lot of reasons. In the regular season, Worthy had almost 800 total yards, 9 total TDs, 11-yard average, so he's still a huge deep threat. We know he's a speed demon. He's worked on his hands a little bit. We knew that was a problem when he first got to Texas. But X went off in the playoffs as well, 287, 3 TDs. He became Patrick Mahomes' best target, arguably, down the stretch. And, of course, scoring in the Super Bowl, the first Texas Longhorn. I can't believe that in the long storied history that Texas has had. I know I'm young, but to think that of all the greats throughout the years, is the first time a Texas Longhorn has scored in a Super Bowl. So that was huge for Texas. Lots of free publicity right there because that was getting circulated. I think it's good for recruiting, obviously, because it's a good selling point to recruits because he was Sark's recruit, right? Not like A.D. Mitchell, a transfer, Matthew Golden, a transfer. Xavier Worthy was Sark's, class. He came in, stayed with Sark, rode it out, was a stud from 2021 on. As a true freshman, he balled out. We remember in Red River, he had a good showing against Oklahoma. And that was a bad season, but he was really good in 2021 as a true freshman. 22, he was great. 23 is when he really popped. So this is just a good sell for recruits. He was a developed guy. Just see like, hey, look, we can get you where you want to go. Like Jamie French, Dalen McCutcheon, Khalil Lockett, maybe Michael Terry III if he decides to play receiver. But, those are all 5 stars, borderline 5-star, 4-star receiver guys who are definitely, you see this. You watch the Super Bowl, it's the Chiefs. He plays with Pat Mahomes. He went to UT. That's huge. And Sark can sell that and be like, look, kid, you can be this guy right here. Who doesn't want that? I'd want to be Xavier Worthy if I, ran 3/4 of a second faster on my 40-yard dash. But hey, I don't think I can even sniff him in a race. He'd probably beat me by a good almost a second. I mean, shoot, he broke the record for the 40 time. All great free publicity for Texas. Sarkisian, they love it. It's an elite wide receiver play is finally back in Austin. Xavier Worthy has been, a catalyst of that resurgence in Texas receiving play that you haven't seen since the likes of Jordan Shipley. So really good for Xavier Worthy, really good for Texas and Coach Sark. But yeah, good things for Texas, even though it was a blowout. It was a good showing by him on all accounts. Mahomes didn't play great, but Worthy was catching some bombs, huge plays by him, and just good statistical performance as a rookie, and showed that he was a dynamic weapon in the run game, on sweeps, you name it. So that was really good to see Xavier Worthy, a Texas X, going off like that in his first year in the NFL. And I think that'll really help with recruiting. I really do think this will help, Texas start to year in and year out produce first-round talent receivers like they did in 2023. Well, maybe Matthew Golden will be a first-round pick. Isaiah Bond should, be able to be a, mid-round pick, third-round picks, maybe second-round pick just on his athleticism and potential with Isaiah Bond. But to see receiving play step up a notch, and it's only going to get better, folks, with Ryan Wingo, 5-star. DeAndre Moore is going to get a lot more reps. We know Arch already liked him in their minimal reps that they got together in games, but limited reps. He was finding more in a lot of plays. And then, of course, like a lot of those freshmen coming in, it'll be interesting. So we'll definitely see how much of an effect that has on the future of Texas football. But I think it'll be paramount that you keep putting. It's always paramount for big programs. It's vocab word of the day for you. Paramount. Give it a goog if you don't know it already. But it's very important that Texas keeps putting in first-round talent, keeps having their players perform at the highest level. And Xavier Worthy being part of the Chiefs, he'll probably win a Super Bowl there at some point. And I think he should go on to have a long, storied career, Pro Bowl guy. Going to be fun to watch him develop, but that does help with a lot of the recruiting and all the 5-star receivers coming in to see that they will be developed. And you'll probably see a lot of guys in the class now, Ryan Wingos of the world, DeAndre Moore, Khalil Lockett, you name it. All these 5-stars, they'll see that, they'll be developed. And I do think that we'll see, dozens of Texas receivers in the NFL in the next, 5 to 10 years. So that was really cool to see Xavier Worthy. Shout out to him, getting it done at the highest level. Last thing, guys, I want to talk about for our last segment is Texas. I believe Texas is in their title window right now. We talk about all this talent. We talk about all the NFL players, all this development. So what does that mean, though, in terms of results, right? We want to see the results because I would see people hating in the comments of posts where it'd be like, oh, Texas made the most money of any program this year, right? Big whoop, people would say that, I would see in the comments like, oh, all this money just to not win a natty. Oh, they did all this. They recruited all this, number 1 recruiting class just to lose in the semifinal. It's like, yeah, your team would take being in the Final Four in back-to-back years 9 times out of 10, would you not? Unless you're, man, I'm just burping up a storm today. All I drink is water. I'm sorry. But these guys, you know these guys on the internet. And it used to be Georgia. Like Georgia was that team that was right up to the cusp. And then they would choke against Alabama or choke against Alabama. And then people would go, oh, Georgia, they're never going to win it. They're never going to win it. Oh, look at Kirby Smart. He's always the little brother to Saban. He'll never win it, right? Can't win the big one. And Ohio State was next. I mean, Ohio State technically won a natty, even though they didn't beat their rival or, win the Big Ten. But you can still win a natty in this day and age. I don't agree with it, but hey. But now people, well, who are they talking about next? Texas. You'll notice Texas is getting a lot of hate online again, which is good. You might get mad. You might get defensive. You might want to argue with these keyboard warriors. But it is good that Texas is now looked at like, well, you got to win the big one now because Texas, yeah, like I said, all these NFL guys, all these 5-star recruits, You do need to win the big one, and it will happen. Like, I do think the window is these next 3 years for Texas. Specifically, you recruit, you're beating everyone that you should beat, but the big one, right? Sark's not really losing to anybody he shouldn't lose to. He loses to teams he wasn't favored against, like Ohio State, Georgia. Well, they were favored against Georgia a couple times, but hey, when are you going to win the big one? That's what people are now saying about Texas. People are crapping on Texas in the comments of these posts when Texas has the #1 recruiting class or makes the most money of anyone. People are dogging on them now. And Texas is getting hate again, which means Texas is back, guys. Not to be Joe Tessitore or say Texas is back, folks, but it does mean that Texas is back because people used to dog on them, but you weren't threatened by Texas in 2016. You weren't really threatened by Texas until they walked into Tuscaloosa and beat Alabama. Then you were like, oh, shoot. Put people on the national alert, like, oh, Texas actually is back. They're recruiting, they're developing, they've got the investment, the facility, the resources, you name it, right? Yeah, and people can dog on him all they want, but Sark's next. He's got next. Kirby won it, finally got over that mountaintop. Then Ryan Day can do it. If Ryan Day can do it after people were saying heinous things to him in Ohio, he lost to Michigan 4 times in a row. At least Sark's not losing to OU or A&M, right? But it'll happen. Like, you can crap on Texas in the comments about, oh, they didn't win it, though. You spend all this money. You didn't win it. When are you going to beat a team, that you're not supposed to beat? When are you going to win a big game, Sark? Like, and that's true. His record in big games is not great right now, but it'll happen. He'll get over the hump. Texas isn't going anywhere, folks. They're not going anywhere. They're going to keep investing the same amount of money. It's like, it just adds more fuel to the fire when you see you're right up on the door knocking for a national title. They're going to keep investing more money. It's not like Texas A&M investing. I hate to shout out the little brother, but Texas A&M investing all this money and they can't even win 10 games. Texas is investing all this money, recruiting these classes, top 5 recruiting class after top 5 recruiting class. And what are they doing? They're getting better. They won 12 games. Now they won 13 games, 10 games back-to-back seasons for the first time since the 2000s. So, I mean, timing is kind of everything, right? They're back in contention. Like, Ohio State was right there. And then it finally just worked for them. Georgia was right there. Then it just kind of worked for them, right? Jameson Williams gets hurt. John Mechie gets hurt. And they play TCU in a national title, which, no offense to the Frogs, but was not real competition. So, I mean, Texas will keep being in contention, and then it'll just boom. And the proverbial elephant will be lifted off your chest. The monkey will be off your back, and you'll win that national title, which I think will probably happen in the next couple of years with Arch Manning. But they're back in contention every year. It'll eventually go their way. It's just a matter of happenstance, right? Throwing all sorts of big vocab words at you guys tonight. But I think he will win the big one. He's got the resources, the talent, the investment. They're stacking class on class. That #1 recruiting class is key. Top 5 recruiting classes every year. The ball will bounce their way eventually, folks. You can hate on Texas all you want, but a national title window is right now, and I think it'll happen in the next couple of years. Now, if it doesn't, and he ends up like James Franklin at Penn State, then that is another conversation for another day. But feel free to call in, guys, comment right now and talk about it. But I think the window for Texas right now is the next couple of years. And it's kind of natty or bust, not necessarily because that's insane, but like, get to a national title, beat a team you're not supposed to, win an SEC championship, win those big games. It's got to happen with Arch, I believe. But yeah, if it doesn't, then you can start talking about them like they're Penn State. But they have different resources than Penn State. So Texas really has no excuse if they can't win one in the next half decade, right? So I think the title window is right now for Texas. We're going to go ahead and bring in a caller right here, a regular. You know him, you love him. If you don't, you'll learn his name. Gerald Hopkins, how you doing? You're on the horn.
How's it going? Sitting here playing a little Star Wars Battlefront, listening in.
Oh, I've got a Lego Star Wars book on my desk right here, Gerald.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, I totally agree with you there that the window, it's open right now, and you need to get that done before that window closes. And like what you're saying, he's gotta win that. He's got to win that game that either he's not supposed to, or he's got to win the game kind of that he is supposed to. I was at the Washington, Texas game in New Orleans, and the checkbook took a little beating that night because I thought it was horns all day. This is Sark's game right here. Yeah. And, I think then, a guy like DeBoer, and everyone can say whatever is Washington, whatever. Dude, DeBoer, I think, is a wizard.
Yeah.
Like, people can say what they want. Oh, that's Washington. That was a bad loss. You shouldn't be thinking of that as a bad loss, dude. That guy is going to be a fantastic coach for a long time. Yeah, what you're saying, I think, like, Texas has got the resources. They've had the resources. They weren't recruiting, you know, they were recruiting well, top 10 recruiting classes. I think that it was more so like now, honestly, I feel like just Texas is getting out of their own way. You've got a guy like Kirby. He was like, I'm not taking this position. I'm not taking this head coaching job unless y'all let me, you listen to me, boosters, uh, administrative guys. Just listen to me, get me what I need, and kind of get out of the way and honestly kind of just shut up and let me work. And look what happened at Georgia. You've got all these Saban disciples that it's like, it shouldn't be a mystery, dude. Just let them work. Let them kind of have their own spin off of Saban's process and kind of find their own way of doing things. And when they do, just get them what they need, get out of the way. And I think Texas is finally doing that for the first time, and I can't even think how long. And you're starting to see the benefit of them kind of letting a dude run that program how they want to. And so, yeah, I think within the next couple years here, they're going to make it to that game. I'm kind of a big believer that you got to get there. Not a whole lot of people get to that game first time around, first go at it and win, unless you're good old Ed Orgeron and you've got one of the best teams ever assembled. But I think for sure, next year, with the turnover they got, going to be tough to get all the way to that game. The schedule's tough. As good as I think Arch is going to be, you can't be totally 100% sure with a first year full-time starter. I think he's going to be great. There might be some growing pains here and there. Shouldn't be anything to freak out about. But I mean, Arch's second year, I think that's when you're getting geared up, ready to be like, all right, we're getting to this game. And we should even be able to kind of get over that hump. Kind of like Ryan Day, he finally gets there in 2020, COVID, whatever, gets absolutely walloped by Alabama, finally gets it figured out. I think that they'll get there. I think another guy that might be a cool matchup, I'd love to see in the playoffs or in a national championship game, like a Oregon Dan Lanning Sark Texas matchup. I think that would be super cool.
Yeah, kind of the new heads.
Yeah,
Possible
exactly. And you're starting to
dynasties,
see kind
maybe.
of the young guys. They're starting to push through. Saban's gone. Kirby's not that old or anything like that. But you are starting to see. I'm not sure how old it is. Lanning in his 30s still.
Yeah, he's like 35. I mean, that guy's young.
That's absurd. I mean, there's a lot of good football, a lot of good matchups that we're going to be seeing here in the next couple of years, and I'm fired up for it. And I think Sarks, he's going to get it figured out. He's going to get to that game. Win or lose, I think he'll get him one in the next 5 years. And then if he doesn't, like what you were saying, maybe we are having a different conversation here. Maybe he isn't totally everything that, the fan base and everyone's kind of chalking him up to be. I don't think that that's the case. I think he knows what he's doing. He's recruiting well. He's getting in the trenches. He's recruiting well there. Obviously, like you were talking about, that's great recruiting to see a guy like Xavier Worthy go off like that. I'm a Rebels fan. You got to love A.J. Brown getting him a touchdown there. Hopefully, kind of we see a little bit of that recruiting, that coming around. Just got our,
he can
first
recruit at the
5-star in
library
a while at wide receiver. So, to your point, you're starting to see, like, once those kids, they're starting to see, like, oh, wow, dude, they not only are getting after it in college, they're going to the league, and they're tearing it up year one, seeing that success. So, yeah, I mean, I think he'll get it figured out. If I had to put a date on it, I'd say 2 years, maybe 3 years from now, he's in that game.
Yeah,
for a national championship in that game, playing for it.
I think to your point is like we would be having a different conversation because Penn State recruits on the level of Michigan. When Michigan won a title, you're recruiting in the teens. That is a different to ask. It's a different ask.
Yeah.
To try and win a title when you're recruiting in double-digit classes. Sark's getting a top 5 class every year. Now the number 1 class. Maybe he'll be able to get another top 3 class. You get a number 1
I don't
class
think that's
like that,
going away.
Yeah,
think
that's
he's
not going to go
spit
away with
out
the
top 5 recruiting
resources.
classes.
You're the flagship program. Sorry, Mike Elko. You're the flagship program in the best, high school football state. He's just going to keep stacking and stacking and stacking. And eventually, to my point, Ryan Day, you kind of just, you could fall face forward onto it. Or Ed Ogeron, you could just, I have better players than everyone. And Texas is getting to that level where they have better players than 90% of the country. They've gotten the semis the past couple of years. Eventually it'll just bounce their way, whether they get a lucky draw, right? Or, it just kind of happens if you're right on the door, and you're just going to win it. Yeah, I don't think it's a Penn State situation. Now, if he doesn't win it with Arch Manning and these classes, God forbid that happens, Shield. God forbid, because then you're looking at a James Franklin type of conversation where you think the guy can't win the big one in general.
Well, I appreciate it, man. Always love being on the show.
Yeah, thanks for calling in again, Gerald. All right, we're going to go to one more caller here. We got Omar Little, first time calling in. Omar, how you doing tonight? You're on the horn.
What's happening? First off, I would like to say I agree with everything Gerald Hopkins just said. He put it very beautifully. And James, even though I'm a first-time caller, been watching the show for a minute. Really enjoy everything.
I appreciate that, Omar.
I got two things, a little unrelated to the topic of what we're discussing. But in the first segment, you were talking about California high school preps compared to Westlake, and you made the accusation of Westlake recruiting under the table. And I would thank you not to besmirch Westlake and the corn-fed boys of the Westlake Hills like that. All of those boys are from that area, and they're dogs for that reason. Second off, I would like your opinion. For Texas culture, I am just about fed up, man, of seeing Matthew McConaughey on the sidelines and everything. I know he's one of these blue-collar actors now, but I think we're all forgetting that he's a theater kid. And to be honest, he's in the locker room, he's giving speeches, and he's giving speeches to the team. I don't know if you know this. He owns or is a part owner in Austin FC. You won't catch him in that locker room at halftime giving speeches to the team unless Apple has their documentary crew down there shooting them. He's faker than a $3 bill, man. I don't know. I don't know, man. I just want to know what you think. Me personally, I think the guy's a jackass and he's a theater kid. And the roles have gotten to his head. But that's my take on it. I'd love to see what you think about it, James.
Yeah, he's an actor after all. I do think there is a little bit of that USC-esque culture brewing in Austin now that Austin's like this new artistic hub. It does feel like Austin's turning into the mini LA being from here. McConaughey's a celebrity at the end of the day, man. He wants to be in front of the camera. He's funny. I find it entertaining to watch him goof around. It is kind of funny that he is like almost like an assistant coach on the sideline with no actual duties. But I think it probably helps with recruiting that he's like a big celebrity. He's like Mr. Texas. I think young kids like that. I don't know. I know this might be sacrilege to say it on a Texas channel, but I'm not the biggest Matthew McConaughey fan. I find him funny sometimes. Failure to Launch with Terry Bradshaw was good. Haven't seen a ton of his stuff, but I think McConaughey probably just helps with recruiting and stuff like that. I can't imagine he's going to many Austin FC games. I'm not the biggest fan of the MLS myself. I do play FIFA though, but McConaughey, love him or hate him, he gets clicks for Texas, get some recruits and whatnot. But I do appreciate your passionate tirade about that. Gives us something to talk about.
Man, sorry. I just saw the movie Mud the other day, and he sucked in it. So I don't know. All right. Well, thank you, man.
Thanks for calling in, Omar. That was a funny change of pace. I appreciate you, man.
Thank you, man. Yeah, I'm going to give it to the next caller. Thank you.
All right. You have a good night. We're going to bring on next Terry McCluskey.
How's it going, James?
We talked about everything from Texas's national title hopes to Matthew McConaughey not actually being a real part of the team, but pretending he is. We've covered it all, so just pick your spot and go.
Yeah, man. I'm real sorry you're missing that Kentucky game.
Oh, dude, I appreciate that. Yeah, I got my basketball right here. I saw that.
Yeah, brother, you got a favorite team for every day of the week.
Oh, you calling me a T-shirt fan right now, Terry?
Might be.
Hey, I went to Baylor. I grew up a Kentucky fan, but I'm from Austin. Yeah, I swear it makes sense.
All right, I got you. Well, I just gotta say, in regards to Quinn getting drafted, you better slap a fragile handle with care sticker on that boy, man. I mean, come on. He gets hurt all the time. He plays like you know what when he's in the pocket. I mean, like, I don't see a very long future for him in the NFL. But, I mean, transferring from that, I got to say, having Arch as a Heisman favorite already, like, why you got to put that on him already? Let him play one game or 2 games, then you can throw that in there. But you're just putting unneeded pressure on the man.
Yeah, I mean, I did see some comments on that because I whipped up a little graphic because he does have the second favorite odds, but you got to whip up an Arch Manning Heisman graphic. That's just engagement galore for the Instagram. But I did see some people saying you're putting pressure on the kid in the comments. I mean, hey, that's what the odds makers are doing, and I'm sure Arch is aware of it. His family's aware of it. The kid already had so much hype around him when he came in. And every time he's gotten in, in limited action this year, he still played really good. I don't think it gets to him. He probably knows how to handle it. The other Mannings, his uncles dealt with it. They had Archie's, the main Archie, Grandpa Manning being a star. They had to live up to that. They did just fine. So, I mean, I think Arch is well prepped for that because he's not, a first in his family type of kid to experience that success. People are going to know what to tell him to do, and he's going to know how to handle it. I don't think the hype's going to get to him.
He's already got his PR shtick going, so that's good for him. He doesn't have that stupid-looking smirk that his uncle Eli has, so that's good. He's got that going for him.
You don't like Eli?
No, I do. He's just got that, cosmonaut look in his eyes.
Yeah, he's got a bit of a mouth breather face. I will give you that.
Yeah, he does. But, I mean, other than that, I do like the kid. I just don't want the pressure on him.
Yeah, I mean, I think
if it's anyone, he can handle it.
Yeah, for sure. Not like Jackson Arnold.
Okay. All right. He's going to do great under Hugh. You just haven't seen him yet. He's going to unlock his full ability, and you know it.
We'll see, man. We'll see. I don't think Texas plays Auburn, though, so I root for the kid.
Yeah, count your lucky stars you don't.
Hey, I don't wish playing at Oklahoma on my worst enemy, so I feel bad for Arnold. He got out of there. Hopefully he'll do better under Hugh and Auburn.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, you should like him more now.
Oh, I do like him more now. I'm rooting for him. We want to see guys leave OU and then do better. It's good for Texas.
All right, man. Well, that's all I had.
Yeah, thanks for calling in again, Terry. Fun as always.
Yeah, fun as always, man.
Appreciate it. Guys, make sure you subscribe. We're going to have fun off-season calls like that. Everybody from Omar to Terry calling about McConaughey. We're going to be talking about everything Texas related. So make sure you subscribe, guys. Click out of this video, see if it says subscribe, click on it, and make sure it says subscribed, right? Just do that for me. It's free. It helps us out. We're trying to make the race to 20,000. This channel's a little over a year old. So I appreciate you guys supporting the show. Like it, share it with a friend. Make sure to subscribe. That's the biggest one. Subscribe. We're going to keep cooking out great content for you all off season. We take no breaks, no time off, no days off, as Kevin Gates would say. And yeah, just share the show, like the show, subscribe to the show. It doesn't do anything. Grab your girlfriend's phone, your mom's phone, your friend's phone, and subscribe to Inside Texas for us. Help us out. And make sure to follow us on Instagram and follow us on Twitter. We post great stuff on social media at Inside Texas. Appreciate you guys and all the support you all have been giving me. This was my 10th show tonight. I'm learning the ropes. I'm producing now. I'm hosting. Sorry I was a little late. But hey, it was a fun one as always. Share the show, like the show, subscribe, call in next time. Shoot the breeze with us, give us your takes, give us your opinions. It's fun to hear from all the fans. We've got a lot of interesting characters, as you saw tonight. Thank you so much for watching On the Horn. Peace and hook 'em.